Hi, this is Adam Blaylock, and you're listening to Adam the Movie Guy. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. Warning, the show you're about to listen to contains strong language and an unhinged host. Don't take me too serious, I'm doing a bit here, so stay the fuck off my back. Enjoy. If this shocks you, if this offends you, and you clicked on the wrong fucking podcast. Welcome everyone. Today's show will be covering Friday the 13th, the final chapter, coming out in 1984, directed by Joseph Zito, and starring Kimberly Beck as Trish Jarvis, Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis, Joan Freeman as Mrs. Jarvis, Eric Anderson as Rob Dyer, Crispin Glover as Jimmy, Lawrence Moneson as Ted, Judy Aronson as Samantha, Barbara Howard as Sarah, Clyde Hayes as Paul, Peter Barton as Doug, Camilla Moore as Tina, Carrie Moore as Terry, got the little twins there, Lisa Freeman as Nurse Morgan, Bruce Mahler as Axel, Bonnie Hellman as the Hitchhiker, and finally Ted White as Jason. Damn, these casts are getting bigger and bigger. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the format will be the same as always, with me giving the synopsis and doing a run-through of the plot, then moving on to the characters, followed by trivia and whatever subject about the film I want to rant about. Although for this one, I'm not going to go as hard, since this movie is damn near perfect in the context of the Friday the 13th franchise. So it's going to be less ranting and more me being a nitpicky asshole. Next, I'm going to give you my best character of the film, followed by the hottest girl and hottest guy. Then I'll proceed to give you my final thoughts and ranking of the movie before saying farewell until the next episode. So, let's get started. Okay, starting with the synopsis of the movie, it's about Jason making a miraculous recovery in the morgue following the events of the previous film, where he was believed to be dead after getting an axe to the freaking head, killing 2 hospital staff members before making his way back home to Crystal Lake, where the Jarvis family's living and a group of teens is renting the cabin next door to party for the weekend. Meanwhile, you got a man named Rob Dyer, brother of Sandra from the second movie, has a score to settle with Jason. It all culminates in a bloodbath and a final showdown with Jason. That's the overall story of the movie, so let's get into the actual events of the plot. Kicking off the film with the police finishing up at the barn crime scene from the ending of the last film, they take a seemingly dead Jason to the morgue where, surprise, he's not actually dead, with him waking up in the icebox, killing the coroner Axel and his girlfriend Nurse Morgan, before escaping and heading back home to Crystal Lake, killing a hitchhiker on the way for some reason. We're then introduced to our main cast of characters, the Jarvis family consisting of Mrs. Jarvis, teenage daughter Trish, 12-year-old mask maker son Tommy, and family dog Gordon. Following that, we're also introduced to a group of teens renting the cabin next door to the Jarvis residence. The group comprises of wannabe playboy Paul, his sex-positive girlfriend Samantha, her virginal friend Sarah, her pretty boy boyfriend Doug, socially awkward Jimmy, and loudmouth annoying Ted. The teens arrive and meet Trish and Tommy Jarvis. The next day, on the way to the lake, they meet twin sisters Tina and Terry biking through the woods, and the twins end up joining the group at the lake, where they all end up skinny dipping. Trish and Tommy end up crossing the skinny dipping group's path, where Trish gets invited to the party they're throwing later that night at the cabin. On the way back home, they have some car trouble and run into Rob Dyer, who's backpacking to Crystal Lake, and they give him a ride to their place to meet their mom, and Tommy hangs out with Rob, showing him his mask collection. So night comes and the party's underway, with teen relationship drama and hookups happening all around. It's all fun until Jason makes his way to the cabin and one by one kills the teen group off, and then Mrs. Jarvis herself, unfortunately. Trish runs into Rob Dyer in the woods and he reveals his true motive for being there. Jason killed his sister Sandra, the troublemaker girl from part 2. And upon hearing his escape from the morgue, Rob hauled ass to Crystal Lake to get his revenge on Jason, which unfortunately doesn't work out for him, and he ends up getting killed off rather anticlimactically, leaving Trish and Tommy to battle Jason alone. Trish fends off Jason multiple times until Jason gets the upper hand, and before he could kill her, Tommy ends up striking the killing blow to Jason via machete to the side of the head, which is pretty damn awesome. And then Tommy starts freaking the fuck out and hacking away at Jason's corpse like a deranged feral child. Trish is then taken to the hospital to recover before embracing little brother Tommy, as the film ends with Tommy giving a crazy look to the camera, implying he may have gone insane and will take up the mantle of the new Crystal Lake Killer. Well, that's all for the plot segment. Let's move on to the characters. Okay, getting into the characters, let's start off with a twofer, Coroner Axel and Nurse Morgan. Now, Axel is kind of a laid-back, sleazy, funny man who just wants to screw Nurse Morgan, which I don't really blame him because she's a real cutie. Although him watching a sexy 1980s workout video while trying to put moves on Nurse Morgan was somewhat confusing since, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm trying to make physical advances on my sorta girlfriend, possible fuck buddy coworker, I'm not going to pay attention to anything but her or have anything on TV since I'm going to come across as a douchebag whose current girl I'm trying to screw apparently isn't enough to get me going. At least that's what it comes across to me when I saw Axel do that shit. As for Nurse Morgan, she's a real cutie whose personal taste I question on the grounds of me wondering what the hell she sees in Axel. I mean, he's not ugly, but he's kind of a fucking tool. She also has this really cute way she delivers dialogue like something out of a 1940s comedy film. Let me see if I can pull up an audio clip of her flipping out on Axel after they were making out and Jason's hands falls off the gurney and brushes her upper leg. Here, take a listen.
You gotta get that sucker in the icebox! That must be nuts! I gotta run!
Hey, where you going?
I'll tell you where I'm going! I'm going crazy!
Yeah, that delivery always came across as cheesy, but in a cute, endearing way to me. Another thing is those old school nurses' uniforms that nurses wore back in the day always came across as a perfect balance between being cute and on the border of being sexy. If she was wearing modern day scrubs, she wouldn't have been as visually appealing. As for their deaths, Axel gets a bone saw across the throat and his head twisted all the way around Exorcist style. And Nurse Morgan gets a brutal gutting via a scalpel. Next, we got an extremely minor character, which is the hitchhiker, who the teen gang ignore and asshole Ted insults her. She had a funny sign gag on one side saying "Canada and love," and the other side saying "fuck you," implying she dealt with this situation multiple times. Also can't help but wonder if she's mute since she doesn't have a single line of dialogue. Her death was a knife to the back of the throat while eating a banana. Next up, another 2-for-1, especially appropriate since they are literally twins, Tina and Terry. Their whole role in this film is basically summed up as looking hot and causing some love triangle trouble. Tina causes some trouble by flirting with Paul and dancing with him, pissing off his girlfriend Samantha, who leaves the party to go skinny dipping. And a guilty Paul eventually chases after her. Now, with that not working out for her, Tina then moves on to awkward Jimmy, who then proceed to go upstairs to have sex. Meanwhile, things aren't going well for her sister Terry, who has to deal with that fucking moron Ted, who at one point pretty much forces a kiss on her, which is fucking disgusting. And she does have my sympathy for it because Ted is just a fucking prick. Now back to Jimmy and Tina, who are in the middle of having sex. Terry knocks on their bedroom door saying that her and Tina have to go home. If I was Jimmy, my immediate thought would be, what the fuck? Go away. Smokey from Friday says it pretty much perfectly. Take a listen.
What kind of shit is that?
Exactly. Just because you're not getting fucked doesn't mean you have to fuck me over. Now, luckily for Jimmy, Tina tells her sister to piss off because she's enjoying herself. Now, if the situation was that Tina did decide to leave since her sister ruined the mood, if I were Jimmy, I would have been so fucking blown by that. Professor wrestling legend Jim Cornette, take it away from me.
Oh, god damn you, I hate you, motherfucker. I wish you'd just fucking drop over and burst into fucking floor.
Exactly. Mind your fucking business and stop trying to ruin other people's time since you want to be all boo-hoo, crybaby, butthurt bitch about yours. Once more with feeling, Jim, can you please sum up the situation for me?
God damn you, just fuck you, go away and die.
Thank you for those words, Jim. You really nailed it. Next up, let me get this asshole out of the way, Ted. Now, Ted is the kind of guy we all knew in high school and college, the overly confident, loudmouth, obnoxious asshole who gives romantic advice to Jimmy, which is fucking laughable considering Ted has no game whatsoever. This guy has the balls to say to Jimmy that he says Jimmy is a bad lay, and that's why Blowjob Betty, his former girlfriend, left him, referring to him as a dead fuck through this weird fake computer gag that they do early on in the beginning of the movie. I got a clip of this conversation. Take a listen. Let me play it for you real quick.
It says you're a dead fuck. What? A dead fuck? A lousy leg. You know? A dead fuck. Oh, I see. Oh, don't hold it back for me, Doc. I can take it. Give it to me straight. I did not say it. The computer did. Yeah, well, there is no computer. And there's no Betty either.
See, this guy is a fucking dickhead, and he makes poor Jimmy insecure about himself. And him forcing a kiss on Terry with his disgusting beer-soaked lips and dick-smelling breath just makes me want to toss my lunch. If I was at that party and saw that, I'd pull him to the side and ask, what the hell is wrong with you, you fucking troglodyte? And maybe give him a good slap on the back of his stupid fucking head. You know, I'm not sure if you guys can tell at this point, but I'm not really a fan of Ted, to be honest. You know what? I take back every mean thing I said about Terry since Ted sucks that bad. Well, I'd still be mad at her for interrupting me having sex if I was Jimmy, but she still has my sympathies. Ted ends up getting killed with a knife to the back of his skull, which honestly is what his dumbass gets. Next character is Jimmy. Now, Jimmy is very awkward and insecure, no thanks in small part to frickin' Ted. However, in his geeky way, he manages to charm Tina with this bizarre, goofy dance he has with her to this really weird song. Have a quick listen to it. Fun fact, this was apparently an AC/DC song, Back in Black, but they couldn't get the rights to it and had to dub over with the new song, which is what they went with. After that, when he does hook up with Tina, he has this funny little moment where he asks her if he was a dead fuck. Take a listen to this. The sound quality is a little low, but check it out.
Was I a dead fuck?
You know what I think. You know what I think.
Sorry for the shit quality for that one, but if you guys can make that out, she ends up saying he was great, which restores his confidence. The only points of contention I have with his character is just one. Why the fuck is he taking advice from Ted? The only thing that guy has game with is his right hand. And 2, after he has sex with Tina, he takes her panties to show off to Ted, letting him know that he scored, which is a kind of creepy thing to do. Now, I get that his confidence is boosted and he's riding high off euphoria, but still, if I was Tina, I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Give me my panties back. And besides, that idiot loser Ted is going to do nothing but probably sniff them like the pervert he is anyway. His last lines asking Ted where the corkscrew was is so memorable before he gets his death by Jason. Take a listen to it real quick.
Hey! Ted! Ted! Hey, Ted, where the hell's corkscrew?
Yeah, his death via a corkscrew to the hand and then a meat cleaver to the face was just damn iconic. And also on a side note, if I was him, I'd pop a bottle of wine too to celebrate getting with Tina because she's so damn gorgeous. Next character I want to very quickly talk about is Doug, the nice guy that Sarah hooks up with in the shower. Aside from being a seemingly decent guy, there's nothing really to write home about for Doug, other than the fact that he's a pretty boy and he can sing a decent tune in the shower. He does have a great final line of dialogue when he's in the shower still after having sex with Sarah. He's singing, he's feeling himself, he just got laid, and of course he's feeling great. When all of a sudden, the lights go out and a figure approaches the glass shower door. Now, Doug thinks it's his buddy Paul fucking around with him, and he starts making jokes before Jason kills him by punching through the glass shower door and shoving his nose into his face, crushing it. Take a listen to the audio clip of his death. It's fucking brutal.
Hey, Paul, is that you? Hey, Paulie! Whoops! Dropped my bar of soap, old buddy. Must get in here with me, old pal. Ho, 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 ho.
Told you it was fucking brutal. Next up is Sarah, the virginal girl who's set up to be a possible survivor, which unfortunately doesn't pan out well for her. Personality-wise, she's the good girl type who's nervous about sex. My favorite aspect of her character is her relationship with her best friend Sam, who has almost a big sister vibe with Sarah. From a physical attraction standpoint, she's beautiful, and we get a very quick view of her body in an underwear scene, which apparently the actress refused to do any nudity, and that was the most she agreed to do. Now, for those of you who saw the film and are saying, what am I talking about? What about the sex scene in the shower where she gets pressed up against the glass shower door and we see her ass? Unfortunately, everyone, I hate to disappoint you, but that was a body double. Her death was a pretty weak one, to be honest, too, with a quick axe to the chest. Next character we got is Samantha, or Sam, as she's referred to by everybody, the sexually active and sweet bestie of Sarah. She is one of my favorite characters of the movie, not only because she's absolutely stunning, which all the main women of this movie are, but the movie doesn't do what later sequels and a lot of slasher films unfortunately did by making the quote-unquote hot promiscuous girl of the group an asshole. Samantha is a grounded, realistic take on what was an already tired trope of making the hot girl mean for no fucking reason. She shows a good amount of depth with her friendship with Sarah, and I could very easily believe they were friends in real life. One other interesting interpretation of her character is that she actually has sexual attraction to Sarah, which is somewhat implied in the skinny dipping scene at the lake, when Samantha is naked in the water talking to Sarah, who's on a little barge fully clothed reading a book, and Samantha really seems keen on getting her to strip naked and get in the water. Here's a little audio clip of their conversation.
Come in, Sam. Think you got? Oh, come on, Sam. Strip in this. Sam, I said no. Well, then I'm going to go under and stay under until you do. See you later.
Now, chances are that was unintentional. It was just a friend trying to get another friend to join in on a good time, but it's still a fun way to interpret her character, and I personally think it's an interesting way to look at it. Her death consists of getting impaled by Jason while laying naked in a raft at night. Next up, we got the character Paul, boyfriend of Samantha. I don't really have a strong opinion on Paul other than the fact that he's kind of an insensitive idiot who doesn't really understand how good he has it with his girlfriend Samantha. His death was a spear gun to the dick, which is a fitting one if you ask me. Next character is Mrs. Jarvis. I don't really have anything to say about her other than the fact that she's a good caring mother, and she's kind of a MILF. Her death was an off-screen kill, which is unfortunate because I'm kind of curious what they originally intended to do to kill that character off. Next up, we got wannabe Jason hunter Rob Dyer. Rob being the brother of Sandra, the buxom bikini girl who got impaled with a spear by Jason in part 2. The movie sets up Rob to be this badass, determined Jason hunter, but he goes out like a punk bitch screaming, he's killing me, take a listen. Yeah, see, he's a nice guy and everything, and was a potential love interest to Trish, but he proved to be as useful as a spare prick at the wedding. His death had Jason hack him to freaking pieces in the basement of the rental cabin that the teens were using. Next, we got Trish Jarvis, our final girl of the film, and second only to Ginny Fields from part 2, as one of the best final girls this series has, in my opinion. She's sweet, she's a good daughter, and a great and loving big sister to Tommy, and she gives Jason a damn good fight. Even getting in a good one-liner telling Jason she's going to give him something to remember them by before swinging a machete into his damn chest. Here's an audio clip of it. The quality is absolute dog shit and hard to hear, but try listening as close as you can. Here it is. See, Trish is a freaking badass. On the physical side of things, she has such a beautiful face and lovely voice. I truly wish that they brought her back for 2 more movies like they did her brother Tommy, and maybe someday that we see her again and know what the hell happened to her character. Speaking of which, let's get into little Tommy Jarvis. Tommy is a very intelligent and talented 12-year-old kid who makes his own monster masks that look like a professional's. And he even has some mechanical knowledge when it comes to cars. He loves his big sister Trish and was willing to put himself in Jason's crosshairs to defend her. Now, in the movie, his plan to distract Jason was so freaking bizarre. Now, for context, he sees a newspaper clipping of a young Jason that Rob had, which inspires him to shave his head to look like a young Jason as a distraction to the adult Jason for God knows what fucking reason. He was literally on top of Trish trying to choke the life out of her or snap her neck, and somehow Tommy had enough time to shave off all of his hair to come in time for the save. That has to be one of the biggest what the fuck moments of the movie, to be honest. I mean, he really couldn't come up with a better distraction that was more practical, but somehow it works, and it all ends up with culminating with Tommy picking up Jason's machete, swinging it into the side of his head where Jason falls forward, sliding down the machete, killing him for real. Then Tommy proceeds to freak the fuck out after seeing Jason's hand twitch, and he starts hacking away at his corpse, screaming, "Die, die." Take a listen to this audio clip of it. It's pretty intense. Yeah, that was some pretty unnerving shit right there. Tommy ends the movie with the implication that he cracked mentally and will take up Jason's title as the Crystal Lake Killer. But don't worry, we're going to see a lot more of him in the next 2 installments. And finally, last but not least, Jason himself, played this time by Ted White. Now, this version of Jason is without a doubt the best human Jason in my opinion, next to another, which I will say who it is when I eventually get to that installment of the series. Ted White was a hulking, driven beast who was very similar to Richard Brooker's portrayal in the previous film, but less animalistic and more methodical in his movements and kills. It's a damn shame Ted White didn't come back like he was offered for parts 5 and 6. My only point of contention with this version of Jason is the scene where he's unmasked and you see his deformed face. The look and makeup looks too monster-like and kind of like shitty clay, to be honest. I mean, compared to the perfection that was part 2's face or Richard Brooker's simplified, shaved head look in part 3, this unmasked Jason was kind of a letdown. Aside from that, he's fit perfect everything about him. Well, that's all for the character segment. Let's get into the next one. 20 minutes? Jesus Christ, this segment lasted a lot longer than I expected it to. And we're back. Let's get into 3 pieces of trivia in the form of Did You Know? And whatever rant I can muster for this one. Starting off with trivia first. Did you know that the director of the film, Joe Zito, and the actor who played Jason, Ted White, did not get along for this film? One of the biggest reasons was during the scene when Samantha, played by a then 19-year-old Judy Aronson, was to be killed by Jason while laying naked on the little yellow raft in the Crystal Lake waters. The actress Judy was freezing cold, and director Joe Zito wouldn't let her get out to warm up between the takes because it would take longer to shoot. This went on to the point where she started to cry, so Ted White said to Zito that they need to let that young woman out to warm up. And Zito made the mistake of telling Ted White to let him direct and he's just to act. Now this pissed off Ted White so much that he said that if they don't let Judy Aronson out of the water to warm up, he's going to walk off the movie. So thankfully, Zito relented and let her out of the water to warm up. Unfortunately, she did end up getting hypothermia, no thanks to Zito being an insensitive prick. Here's another interesting fact. Did you know that Ted White is the oldest actor to play Jason at the age of 58? Ted White has acting credits dating all the way back to 1949. I mean, he worked with legends such as Peter Fonda, Jane Fonda, Carol O'Connor, the fucking Duke himself, John Wayne, on films like The Alamo, and he was John Wayne's stunt double in the 1960 film Hatari. I mean, hell, he was the Gillman stunt double in the sequel to Creature from the Black Lagoon. He also did some stunt work in other famous films such as Soylent Green, Planet of the Apes, Escape from New York, and Wild Wild West, to name a few. The guy's a freaking legend. As for the last little trivia tidbit, did you know that Jason's death in the film was originally going to involve having his head explode via a homemade microwave oven Tommy invented and slams on Jason's head, and he cranks it all the way up? They ended up changing it at the last minute, and people suspected the reason was that, well, we might make another one of these, despite the title of this one being the final chapter. That's a laugh considering how many movies they made afterwards. Now for a little mini rant, which is something of a cheat since it technically never made it to the final cut of the movie, thankfully, and also touches on what I want to rant about in the last episode, or excuse me, what I was ranting about in the last episode, which was that the writer of this film, Barry Cohen, wrote in that near the end, when he's fighting Trish, at one point, Jason was originally supposed to grope her and fondle her breast, which I'm glad that idea got thrown out the window by both the producers of the film and even the director, Joe Zito, with their reasoning being that it made Jason seem too human and less menacing. Now, the director was kind of a dick, but I agree with his decision just for different reasons. And I touched upon this in my review of the last Friday movie. I do not like the character of Jason being sexual in any way. It doesn't make sense for his character. For Freddy Krueger, it makes sense. Hell, even Michael Myers has slight sexual undertone with the females he targets in the Halloween movies. As for Jason, stop trying to make him a sexual predator. It just doesn't fit his character, so knock it the fuck off. Thank you. Well, that's it for this segment. Let's get into the next. Okay, guys, let's get into the best characters and the hottest characters. Starting off with the best is the easiest slam dunk, with the best character of the film being... Can I get a drum roll, please, somebody? Trish Jarvis. Yeah, that's right. Well, she deserves it for being such a well-rounded character and giving Jason a damn good fight. Now, let's get into the hardest part of the show, and I mean that in multiple ways. Naming the hottest girl of the film. Now, this movie in the series has hands down the highest amount of hottest girls in a single Friday the 13th movie, with a close second being the reboot in 2009. Seriously, every main female character in this movie is absolutely beautiful. You got the hot nurse in the beginning, the main teen group, the twins that join them for the party, 2 scenes of skinny dipping. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna have a fucking coronary watching this movie the first time at the age of 12. Ugh, I need to fan myself down, shit. But back on topic for the award for the hardest. I mean hottest. I meant hottest girl. Anyway, and the award goes to... Another drum roll, please. Samantha, played by Judy Aronson. Yeah, that's right. She deserves it too. Now, this was a very tough decision on my part because, like I said, the competition was fierce, and I mean fucking fierce. But what gave Samantha the edge over everyone else was the fact that she's a character that was perfectly balanced between being sexy and having a good amount of depth with her friendship with Sarah. That and, well, the fact that we get 2 skinny dipping scenes with her helped a lot. But for the next award, hottest swinging dick, aka the hottest guy, that's easily gonna go to Doug, since the competition, if you could call it that, wasn't exactly fierce like it was for the ladies. And I couldn't really do a whole song and dance routine with the build-up like I did with the ladies. I mean, the film sets him up to be the sensitive, pretty boy that you could take home to meet mom and dad, for crying out loud. Well, that's all for this segment. Let's bring it on home with the last. Okay, final thoughts of the movie is that this is the quintessential Friday the 13th film. It has everything that the series is known for being, which is great kills, fun characters, plenty of nudity and sex, and I mean, holy shit, at this point, Crystal Lake is just covered with blood and cum at this point, and a badass final girl and an even more badass Jason. Most importantly, unlike the later sequels that came after this, all the characters, with the exception of Ted and Paul, are likable for the most part, and they aren't just living stereotypes like, you know, the jock, the geek, the hot mean girl, and the virgin girl. They all feel like real people with depth to them. Hell, even asshole Ted has a good 2-man thing going on with Jimmy with their back and forth dialogue. But my favorite relationship for how sweet and genuine it is the friendship between Sarah and Samantha. It's unfortunate that this all goes right out the motherfucking window with the later sequels where the characters just exist to be part of a body count. You don't really give a damn about them aside from the final girl and maybe one other character. It is my favorite film in the series. And for the ranking, I'm going to give it a 4 hockey masks out of 5. Well, guys, that's the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it and had some laughs. Stay tuned in for the next one. This is Adam the Movie Guy wishing you the best, and see you next episode. See you later, guys.